Woodley Wednesday, having our beautiful girl crush, legendary Dr. Woodley back in the house, answering your cat questions.
Who is your little friend?
This one?
Yeah.
That's Kiwi. She's going to come and join us. She's going to jump into her bed and resume 18 hours of sleep.
There we go.
Maybe. Or destroy everything. We'll see. So
I see her coming in.
yeah, she's slinking in. So come on.
Oh, hello, Tina and Darby and Kara Lee and Nicole, Anna. Oh, yay. Hey, Chris. Oh my gosh, this is very exciting and long overdue. 2 weeks ago, we canceled this. Poof.
Oh, wow. Tina. I don't know if I'm the only one. Cheers to Tina.
Okay, we had to say
it. Cheers with your water.
Yeah,
we did buy a fabulous wine for tonight for our wine with Dr. Woodley.
We actually bought this for 2 weeks ago. Can you believe that? A bottle of unopened wine in our house for more than 2 weeks. That never happens.
But it's
unless we're ill.
It's called The Harvester. And we thought we'd bring it and show you, even though we're not going to crack it open because we don't want to waste any wine. And we're just a little under the weather lately. So drinking wine is just not a good idea tonight for us.
Probably not. I mean, we are not good at making judgment calls about alcohol usually. However, we feel pretty confident.
Katie very well knows.
Pretty confident in this one. Heather with 49 stars. Thank you, Heather.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Heather.
Is this our Heather? I don't see the...
Heather Wright?
Is it Heather Wright? Where's Heather Wright?
I only see one Heather.
It is
so
Heather
good to
Wright.
see you.
Oh my God.
Thank you everyone for joining us. So we have the legendary Dr. Katie Woodley here tonight to answer your cat questions. If you guys don't have cat questions, we've got a rant to go on.
But hold on, I see some newbies in the house. So Dr. Katie, for all the newbies joining us, could you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself and how you rock this world?
Yeah, so welcome everyone. So excited to be here. I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, the natural pet doctor. I'm an integrative holistic veterinarian who helps empower you to help your kitty cats live their best life through using fresh food as medicine, essential oils, Chinese herbal medicine, acupuncture, all sorts of natural modalities to give you back the power to help your cats feel their best. So you can check me out at thenaturalpetdoctor.com. Make sure you're following us on social media. And we also have a YouTube channel where we post lots of free content every single week.
I love it. Check me out. Trisha in the house with 500 stars. Thank you, Trisha. My favorite ladies.
We've got a good crew here tonight. So super excited.
Here, Denise. Chrissy said, please recommend someone in Vancouver, Canada to support my 11-month-old kitten with IBM.
Okay, Christy. So we don't necessarily, I don't know if Dr. Katie does know anyone in Vancouver, Canada. However, there are so many, especially now, there are so many telehealth veterinarians that can really help you naturally.
With your conventional vet.
To help you and your kitty through, especially these chronic illnesses. Because there's so many natural ways that we can help support cats with HCM and IBD. And I'm so sorry if it's the same kitty with both issues. That's so sad. But Dr. Katie has a lot of great information on IBD and HCM as well.
Yeah. And so HCM for Darby, who's asking, so hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, it can be a common cat heart condition that can go unnoticed. Unfortunately, so it's good that I'm really glad that Christy knows that her cat has that. So that way you can change diet, you can add in supplements to support heart health. But it's one of those that can definitely go unnoticed until, unfortunately, it is called a silent killer in cats. And so this is why preventative care, asking the right questions at the veterinarian are so important. And also, too, changing and shifting our mindset from the conventional, where we wait for something to happen, we wait for symptoms to occur, to shifting to a more integrative, holistic approach where we start looking at the whole body as interconnected. And so even though we have two different conditions, so say like IBD and HCM, a lot of times there's imbalances that are connected. And when we look at the body as a whole, we can find the root imbalance and fix that, and we can help our pets. And so that's the power of looking at our pets from a conventional versus a holistic. It enables us and it empowers us to be able to take action and make a change and a difference for them.
Well said. I
Yeah,
love
absolutely. A couple supplements. Do you recommend for HCM? Do you recommend supplements like ubiquinol or hawthorn?
Yeah. Yeah, those are great ones to get started. Biggest thing, so this is where it's hard with if you have a pet that also has IBD, so inflammatory bowel disease, where they're sensitive potentially to a lot of different foods. So first off, I always talk about gut health. Like, how is the gut health? And I believe even in Canada, you can send in stool samples to Animal Biome. They have a kitty biome test. And so you can actually assess for an 11-month-old cat, like what's going on in gut health. How off is it? Are there too many bad bacteria? Is there not enough variety of the different strains that should be there? So that would be something I'd be looking at, because a lot of disease actually comes from a gut health issue, even though it seems completely not connected. Obviously, IBD is connected to that. But if we have a leaky gut, we have inflammation that could also be affecting the heart itself. So this is where looking at, Jay, you nailed it. So CoQ10 or ubiquinol. Hawthorn is a great Western herb that's going to help with heart contractility. So the way that it pumps and how it's going to help get blood flow to the rest of the body. This is where also too looking at your omega-3 essential fatty acids for IBD, where a lot of times our kitty cats are low in B12. And then also too, going back to diet. And what are we feeding these cats? Because if we can get the cat, a lot of cats with IBD actually do really well on a less processed diet, or even a fresh diet or a raw food diet. So this is where sometimes we have to do a little bit of trial and error to see what they tolerate, but we can support gut health and use different types of probiotics and using things like slippery elm and things to soothe the gut lining while we're introducing new supplements. So those are just a couple to get started that you could try on your own and see what your cat responds best to.
Yes,
I love
absolutely.
That. We've actually
Karen
got some good
said,
questions coming in. And I want to thank Robin, because we missed your stars.
Oh,
Cheers, Robin.
Robin, cheers.
We promise we'll make up for the wine intake on the next time. But Karen asked, my cat had thyroid radiation in December and he's doing well now, but has dandruff. Is that a thyroid thing?
This is a great question, Karen. So what I look at, I'm always asking, well, why is this happening? And it can be a harder question to answer. But once again, going back to the way that we look at the whole body. So we know that the thyroid was working overtime. A lot of times in our kitty cats that have thyroid issues, usually it's hyperthyroid is the common. So they're producing too much thyroid hormone. We tend to see symptoms like GI issues, vomiting, diarrhea, weight loss. So these kitties are hungry all the time. We can also see changes in their behaviors where they're meowing and yowling at night. They're walking through the house yowling, and you're like, what's going on? And that can be a sign that there's a thyroid issue. So if you're seeing any of those symptoms, make sure that your veterinarian tests for thyroid, along with a full panel, of course, a blood work panel, to make sure nothing else is off. Because this is really important. When we do, and Karen, I'm sure you went through this, with thyroid, when we use radiation treatment, we have to make sure the kidneys are working well, because when we have hyperthyroidism, it increases blood flow to the kidneys. So it's increasing circulation. And if there's an underlying kidney problem, so many cats have, chronic kidney disease. Mm-hmm. So we're supporting the kidneys because there's good blood flow to them because of this hyperthyroid problem. So when we bring the thyroid back down to normal with either radiation or medications, then what can happen is it can actually unmask a kidney disease problem that we didn't know about before, because on the blood work, it looked normal because of the increased circulation to those kidneys. So that's something just in general for people to keep in mind, and your veterinarian should be monitoring and assessing. So that's why your full blood work panels are really important to ask for, along with the urinalysis, so you can see concentration of urine and how well the kidneys are truly working. Because once again, everything's connected. And so when we see an issue where we've treated a problem, we've pretty much irradiated the thyroid. So we've calmed it down, bringing those thyroid hormones back to normal. The question still is why did that happen? Why was the thyroid off? And a lot of these cats are eating like canned foods or diets high in fish. They're getting heavy metals. They're being exposed to soy. So these are what we call endocrine disruptors. They affect hormonal health. And that's going to directly affect thyroid. Thyroid is a huge part of the hormonal health. We call it the HPA axis to get kind of scientific there. But we have to go back to, if we don't fix the reason why this happened in the first place, of course, there's still going to be imbalance present in the body. So this is where, if we're seeing dry skin, for one, skin is directly connected to gut health. And so this is, once again, looking at, can we do some of these diagnostic tests to identify if there's a gut health issue? And this is what's commonly missed, right? You take your pet to the vet, you take your cat to the vet, and you have dry skin. And they say, okay, use an omega-3 essential fatty acid. Super important. I highly recommend that. However, if we're still feeding a diet that's really inflammatory to that cat, we're going to still have that imbalance. And maybe we kind of like patched it up, right? So it's kind of like if you get a flat tire in on your car, right? You're driving along, you're like, oh God, I've got a flat tire. You pull over, you put the spare on, and you're like, oh, I could keep going. We're just going to push it, right? Like, I don't have a service station. I can't fix this tire, put on a real one, right? And you just keep going, and you just like keep pushing that car. And all of a sudden it just like breaks, right? And the tire flies off. It's like completely obliterated. This is what happens when we avoid fixing the root imbalance, because it looks like we fixed the problem, but we actually fixed a symptom that was telling us, hey, there's something going on. We need to repair and put a good tire back on, essentially, right? And so this is where dry skin is telling us something's off in the body. Yes, omega-3s, looking at diet. What else could be happening? Looking at toxins. What are we using in the environment? These are all like the pillars of health I talk about so much that are commonly missed because we're so focused on this one problem and on the symptom. And it's easy to do. That's why conventional medicine falls short, right? And you keep going back to the vet clinic over and over again for the same problem because we're focused on symptomatic care versus asking that bigger and harder question of, well, why is this actually happening? Let's dive a bit deeper and look at how are all these systems interconnected and figure it out so we can fix the actual problem.
Yes, I love that answer.
It's so true. I mean, I think a lot of times we go to the vet for more reactive care, right? Like this is going on and what can we do to fix it? And then it becomes symptomatic care instead of holistic. Denise.
Thank you, Denise, so for 100 stars.
Tori with a great question. Natural options to decrease inflammation for cats with chronic asthma and bronchitis. This is this is a sadly common question.
Yeah. So number one, what's going on in the environment? And I find so many times, so I'm blessed. I get to do house consultations. So I get to walk into people's homes and smell how the house smells. And I can pick up, I'm like, oh, they're diffusing something. They've got candles going. I can smell a cleaner product. I can see stuff too. So I'm taking in the entire situation. And this is where it's easy to miss some of those things where we think we're using clean candles or we have a Glade plug-in that's actually aggravating the lungs. And so, yes, this is kind of like symptom care, but this is the whole body, whole ecosystem approach where assessing what are we doing in our environment that could potentially be aggravating the lungs. So that's one easy step to kind of go through your house and be like, oh, I was doing this, or I was diffusing essential oils that weren't a good high quality brand. Maybe I need to stop that, reduce that. So number one, I'd be looking at environment. Anytime we are treating asthma or a lung issue, right? They're going to be more sensitive to smells and chemicals. So let's reduce those. Number two, I'd be looking at, so this is where with asthma, so a lot of times these asthmatic cats, so when we look at a Chinese medicine perspective and how everything's connected, a lot of time, so we actually have a connection between the lungs and the large intestine. So there's a direct connection here. So a lot of these cats actually have constipation issues too. And the large intestine is directly connected to the skin. So sometimes we see like the dry skin, like Denise was talking about. So this is where like taking a broader approach and looking at things differently, we can start seeing like, oh, maybe there's a deficiency here. Maybe there's an excess here. And it helps us get to that like root imbalance. So for Tori, I'd be looking at, okay, are we having any GI issues? Because maybe this is actually coming from a gut issue and we have constipation and we need to address diet. We need to add in things like coconut oil. We need to add in some other natural remedies to help get the gut functioning and improve that. And because of that direct connection to the lungs, that's actually going to reduce the inflammation present that in the lungs. The other thing we can do is food therapy. So I love Chinese food therapy. One of the really neat, and not every cat will take to this. Cats are their own special beast. And not every cat will take this, but you can actually chop up a little bit of pear. And pear is actually really helpful at reducing cough and helping with asthma. So for cats, obviously less, start with a little bit less and chop it up really finely and just a little tiny bit and see what your cat does. Because you may be surprised, they may actually take it, or you can blend it up into the food too. And because we're not using a ton, we don't need a ton, you can actually probably blend it up and they won't even notice it's there, but you're still getting the great food therapy properties that we're using it for to help them. Now, one of the other things too with your like asthma cases, I am not trained in homeopathy. That is my disclaimer. However, a lot of cats actually respond to the homeopathic remedy Thua. So Thuga, Thua. It's a common one that we use for vaccinosis, vaccine reactions to help avoid any side effects when we do have to give a vaccine. But it actually can work quite well with a lot of cats with asthma. So this is where you could potentially try a homeopathy remedy. And then, of course, I go down the path of Chinese herbal medicine. So working with someone that does Chinese herbal medicine, does homeopathy is always going to, of course, be, Tori's best approach for figuring out and treating that from a natural perspective. But, same principles, what's going on with diet, what's going on with gut health, looking for some of these other maybe smaller symptoms that are going to be connected that give you a clue into where other imbalances lie. Using your omega-3s, using some of the food therapy. You can also use freeze-dried lung. So going off of the principle like treats like, that can make a huge difference for a lot of pets. So with cats, asthma, so freeze-dried lung, cats with chronic kidney disease, using a little bit of freeze-dried kidney can make a huge difference too. So those are a couple things that you can start kind of playing around with to see if it makes a big difference.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. We've seen so many cats over the years with both asthma and allergies, and taking away those triggers, like you started to say, with the environmental aspect, like the plugins and the aerosol sprays and the candles and things like that. Literally, just making a clean home has stopped the triggers. And to them, it seems like it's actually gone.
And even good air purifiers removing those triggers, but also implementing a good
clean.
Yeah. Yes. And cat litter I did not mention. Oh my goodness. That is a huge trigger. The dust and cat litter. So that's a huge problem.
Yes, absolutely.
So Chris, thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
We have got some great questions tonight. Christy. Oh, Chris, thank you so much for your comment too about your babies. That's such a great update. Christy said, I would really like to get him off Hill Science diet, but my vet says same food forever, and that doesn't sit well with me, but his gut is so sensitive. Thank you so much for your input. This is so common, especially cats on specific diets, cats on prescription diets, and they feel like they cannot.
Because the vets say you have to feed it forever.
Here's the thing. It's what they're taught. That's what we learn in vet school. And so, your vet is doing the best that they can with the information that they have. And so this is literally like, I was the same way, like feed these foods, I was feeding cats kibble diets. Now I'm like, oh my goodness, why was I doing that? But that's what we were taught. And so for one, Christy, first steps, when you're looking at getting your cats off of, say, I'm guessing, I don't know if this is a dry food or a canned food, probably a dry food diet, I'm guessing. I could be wrong. But especially when you're looking at transitioning from a dry food to a canned food, or even from dry to raw. A lot of people try to make that big jump, and sometimes we have to take it in stages. But first, some of the ways that we can set them up for success is support gut health. Let's get them some digestive enzymes. Let's get them some probiotics that are going to help change their gut health. Because these cats, especially if they're on high carb diets, so your highly processed foods like your kibble, they're feeding different types of bacteria in the gut. And what can happen is if we change, so if your cat's like super excited about a raw food diet, sometimes what can happen is we change from kibble to raw, and then we get diarrhea, we get vomiting. And it's because the microbiome, so all of those trillions of bacteria, protozoa, fungi, cells, all the things that should be working together in this ecosystem to create optimal health, the bacteria is off. So that ecosystem is not healthy. And there's lots of inflammation there, and it's not working the way it should if we're not feeding a species appropriate diet, because high carbs are feeding certain types of bacteria. So if we just switch dramatically, so say like a lot of people are like, oh my God, they learn this information and like throw the food away, and they get like the raw diet, and then they start their pet on it, and then they get bloody diarrhea, blowout diarrhea. You go to the vet and your vet's like, oh my God, never do that again. You are killing your pet. Raw food kills everyone, right? It causes E. coli, salmonella poisoning. Okay, so what actually happened? Let's take a step back. The microbiome was not ready and able to process that new type of food. You need different types of bacteria to actually process high protein diets. And that's where this microbiome, all the research that's coming out, those microbiome tests are really helpful, because it gives you an idea of like, where is your pet in terms of like good versus bad bacteria and that diversity, so that if you did transition them and you only had mild dysbiosis, they'd probably be okay. And when I say dysbiosis, bad outnumbering good bacteria. So what I always say is, okay, let's water the garden. So we have this ecosystem. So let's put the good stuff back in. Let's support optimal digestion. So once again, digestive enzymes, probiotics. So we're doing it in phases. We do that. We start that. Okay, cat's doing well. So now what we can do is we start the slow transition over to a different diet. And there's so many good foods now, which makes it so much easier. So many, like, you don't have to formulate your own diets. There's so many good pre-made options, but you're doing it slowly. You can some people can get away with doing it really fast. I go slow because I don't want you to end up in the ER and have to go through that like travesty of talking to the vet and getting, scolded and then being terrified of ever trying this again, because it's the microbiome. It's not E. coli. It's not salmonella. Your pets can handle a raw food diet, I promise. And so what we do is slow transition over 3 to 5 days, longer if your pet is sensitive. And what you're using are the good quality diets that are out there, pre-made. Make this easier for yourself, because this is stressful already. Like, you're already going against like vet advice, right? So make it easy. Use, a lot of these brands that Small Batch, Evermore, even like Open Farm, Darwin's, they're Raised Right. There's so many good brands. Just go slow, take your time, support and water the garden. And a lot of times you'll find your cat thrives.
Yeah.
And the hardest part too can be if they are on a kibble diet, getting them over to, getting the kibble addicted cats. The one behind me right over here, kibble addicted, when we got her, she's on a freeze dried raw. She gets a little bit of canned, and she will eat some raw. And we got her as a senior. So the transition can be long, hard. And like, I love what you ladies say, like, patience, perseverance, and persistence, right? The 3 Ps. Did I get it right, or did I screw it up?
Patience and perseverance pays.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, I knew there were like 3 Ps, but that's 100% right when you're transitioning your cats. So Christy, you can 100% do it. When clients come to me and their cat's on a prescription diet, my number one goal is always to get them off prescription food. Always number one, because food is medicine. And most diseases begin in the gut, and diet influences that. So
Yeah.
You
And
said that.
Well, and just a quick shout out, guys, because tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be live with Larry and Charlie from Podega on their page, on their Facebook page. Go follow them. And we're going to be live discussing all things how to transition your cats to a raw food diet.
Food.
It's all about food. Right.
All about
it's all about the diet.
But Dr. Katie, I really love that you said when you have clients that come to you that are on a prescription diet, your number one priority is getting them off that prescription diet. And I really feel like that's so important for all of us to hear from an integrative veterinarian, because those prescription diets are already scary, right? Like they think that they have to be on this in order for them for their cat to live. And hearing that from you and realizing just the importance of food, it's so big for, I think, so many people. Marilyn dropping stars.
Marilyn, thank you so much.
And Denise. Oh,
250. Thank you so much.
Wow, Denise.
Let's we got so many questions. So
you guys are on fire tonight. I love it.
You are the flower, my dear. Is it Toddy? Taddy, I'm slaughtering your name. How many times a day should my 2 3-year-old cats eat wet food for gut purposes?
So this is a great question. So a lot of people will do twice a day feeding because that works for their work schedule, right? You're not there. If you're there, like if you're at home and you can break up their feeding into smaller meals throughout the day, 100% that's going to mimic like their natural diet. When you think about cats going out and hunting and they're eating like a mouse or they're eating a bird, they're getting little bits throughout the day. Obviously, if you can't do that, do not stress. You can do twice a day feeding. Biggest thing for cats do not do well with fasting like dogs can. So we don't ever want to fast cats, but it just depends on your situation. So if you are working from home, break up those meals into smaller meals throughout the day, and they can do quite well with that.
Yes.
I love that.
Let's see.
I
don't know. There's so many, and then it just keeps going by really fast.
Whoa,
Thank you,
Marilyn and
Marilyn.
Denise are in the Star Wars.
Oh my God.
Hi, Jody.
Wait, I
thought there was a question about.
I passed.
Sorry.
Okay, Paul Bear.
Yeah, Paul Bear, I was going to say, has a good. Oh, Paul Bear has another question too. We need to answer. Okay, so how
to manage a cat who's terrified of the vet, very fearful of a vet due to previous bad experiences at various clinics to be examined.
Yes, is a great question. And it's one of the main reasons why cats don't get seen at the vet, because it's so stressful for everyone. So I highly recommend, if you can, not everyone has access to these types of clinics, but looking for fear-free certified veterinary clinics. So I went through that certification with Dr. Sophia Yen way back in the day, the start of my vet career. And I learned how to, this sounds awful, but it's actually not stressful, how to towel wrap a cat 7 different ways. Like, it's incredible what you can do to get like blood, to do different procedures with them and keeping them calm in the process. So look for a fear-free certified clinic. That means that they've gone through training where they use low stress techniques. They should be able to recognize when animals are getting stressed, and that can help them. The other thing too is, a lot of cats are terrified of the cat carrier because it goes away and it only comes out to take them to like a horrible place where they go. I always say it's like we put them in a box. So like we're in our box right now, right? This is like the safe box. They're used to this box. It's like their normal environment. And then once a year or twice a year, depending on your cat and where they're at age-wise or health-wise, we pull out another box. But that box is scary. It's different because it's not normal. And we shove the cat in the box, and then we put them in another box that moves and plays like music. And there's like scary things like outside. And they're like, what is the world's ending? This is it. That's what your cat's thinking. Like, we're done. Like, this is done. We're done. And then it gets even worse. We take them out of the moving box and we walk into the box that has barking dogs, smells, like it's crazy. And then we put them in a room, and then this crazy person, usually with a white coat that's super terrifying, I'm not used to that color, walks in, sometimes manhandles them, hopefully not, but draws blood and like manipulates them and feels on them weird, not normal petting. And they're like, oh my God. So of course cats are like, what happens? They remember that. and they remember terrifying experiences. They're ingrained. We're built the same way. So the reticular activating system will remember trauma. And so what we have to do is we have to start desensitizing our cats to that experience. If you are able, leave the cat carrier out. Feed your cat in it. Make it a positive experience. Use cat pheromones, using calming products, use CBD for them. Get them used to the process. Cover the cat carrier so they can't see like all the moving things and the environment changing. If you can use a cat only clinic, fantastic. You're not going to have the barking dogs and all those smells that are super scary, especially if you don't have dogs in the house and you only have cats. So those are a couple tips to like get you started to help them. But this is such a common issue, and it comes back down to just desensitizing them, supporting them, using natural remedies, but also utilizing, like bringing things out so that they become more normal rather than a once a year, like terrifying experience for them.
Right.
Yeah, I would also add too, like, especially if your cat needs to be examined, if you know there's a need for you to go to the vet, I think it's also really important, as we discovered, to kind of ask your vet how comfortable they are with cats, number
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Because your cat is going to be scared, but if your vet is equally terrified, it is
Oh,
a
Yes. Yes.
And we've
really
been
bad
there. It's a
combination.
really
Yeah.
bad
See, I love cats. So I was like the cat lady. So that's a great point. Because so many of my colleagues were like, you take the cats. And I was like, bring them. I love them. Even like the crazy ones. I was like, I love them. They're just sad. I can help them.
I mean, we really recently experienced that. So that's really important too, just kind of vetting your vet in a way to make sure that this is going to be a comfortable situation for them. I know too, we haven't tried this yet, but there are home vets that will come to your home. I think here in Las Vegas, there's actually, so I like that idea as well. I think it's really important not to put off those exams that we know need to be done.
Yeah.
So kind of playing with that. I'm going to ask you this question because
Paul
I know
Bear is
that,
in Ireland. I wonder if they have.
I
If they have. I believe it's
Home vets.
Ireland. Home vets in Ireland.
I wanted to ask
Maybe.
from your perspective, from your experience, if you do have a cat, that this is obviously a situation where you've done all the things to try to desensitize them. The trauma is just too much, and we are defecating, or we're having problems with our carrier. We're foaming at the mouth. We're freaking out. We're being scared at the vet clinic, being aggressive. Are there pharmaceuticals that you would recommend as a last resort that can help prepare a cat for something like that as a last resort kind of situation?
100%. This is gabapentin. So many of us are like scared to use those, but I mean, there are times I've had to use those for even like older patients, and we were worried about kidney disease, and I knew that this is a safer medication for those pets, the way it's processed and metabolized, and I had to get blood work, because here's the thing. I mean, we can only guess so much. That's super frustrating. Sometimes we need to get the x-rays, we need to, do the exam, we need to get the blood work. And also too, it can help calm them. And, it's a sedative, but it has a place. And, if we need to use it, it can be really helpful for your veterinarian to be able to do the things that they need to do so that you can like help your pet the best way possible.
Right.
Great answer. Okay, so follow-up question. Here's the one that you saw earlier. I'm concerned my cat's not putting on weight.
This is a different one. Paul Bear.
Oh, different than the other one? Did we miss one?
No, there's another one too, I think. So, but yeah, let's go for it. This one, let's go for it.
Inflammatory bowel disease. Despite feeding small portions several times a day, this cat lost his best friend 5 weeks ago from liver cancer.
Yes.
The cat has had issues throwing up fur balls, undigested food, and two weekly episodes. He's on a fiber that is added to food along with slippery elm. Last Saturday, he had an episode of constipation for most of the day, despite no change in food.
Okay, so this is where I'd be looking at, and I don't have the full history, so it's really hard to say 100%. We're dealing with an emotional component.
Right.
We know that stress directly creates leaky gut. So leaky gut is inflammation in that gut lining that causes inflammation in the rest of the body. And so we have an element of that, but we also have a kitty that has an autoimmune disease, that inflammatory bowel disease. And so I don't know what diet they're on. I'm guessing, I don't know. Actually, I can't guess. I don't know what type of diet. And so I'd be looking at possibly a diet change. And this is where sometimes we do have to do a lightly cooked food for cats and dogs that have an inflamed gut lining, because it's a little bit more processed. It makes it easier to digest, and it's more warming energetically than a raw diet. And so that might be pretty helpful. And then I'd be looking at, okay, they're throwing up fur balls, undigested foods. So this is where, how do we better support gut health? If we're only using a fiber and slippery elm, that's good. However, we probably need to add in some probiotics, digestive enzymes. There's things like L-glutamine, which helps support the gut lining. It's a good food source for the gut cells. Also, things like your deglycerinized licorice is very soothing and can actually have natural steroid-like properties to help soothe and help the gut, especially when we're dealing with an autoimmune disease. So I can't give 100% specifics because I don't have the full history and there's limitations there. But those would be things I'd be looking at, especially with inflammatory bowel disease, and working on, what emotional health issues we're having, losing his best friend. Talking to animal communicators might be a good option too, to see like, what's this cat going through? What are some of the things they need? Take it for what it's worth, whether or not you believe in it. It can be quite eye-opening. And I know both of us have had an experience that's been really helpful for when our cats have been sick, and just getting a better idea of what's happening. So it seems outside the box, but it can be really beneficial to getting a better idea of what's going on.
Great answer. I know everyone, it's very woo-woo, but man, it can be like
Woo-woo. I love woo-woo. Anyone else love woo-woo? Shout it out in the comments if you love woo-woo.
Yeah.
Woo-woo is not always like a bad thing. And there is more science coming out about a lot of the woo-woo and energy frequencies. Like, it is awesome. So,
well, the science goes back to a really long time ago in physics, but
I find it fascinating. Conventional medicine is actually the newbie in the medicine.
It is. That's the thing. Like, when people are like, how do your Chinese herbs work? I'm like, well, they've been around a lot longer than your drugs. So maybe you should learn a little bit about it. That's the thing.
Find a place for everything, for sure.
Yeah.
Madison said, what is the best place to get freeze-dried lung, and what brand? Do you have any favorites?
This is where, so in the States, so for one, if you have a good relationship with a farmer, support local. 100%. Farmers markets are really good because you can ask them questions about how they raise their animals. You can potentially even go visit the farms, and you can get, it's super gross. Some people don't want to deal with it, but you can get like fresh lung too from butchers, and you can actually dehydrate it. So that's another great option. I personally am not going that route, but a lot of people do, and that can be a great option. But there's, in the United States, you have like Naked Beast Snacks, you have Raw Feeding Miami. There's a lot of great raw feeding companies. Raw, and I'm saying Raw Dog Box. I'm saying they're dogs, but they sent us some dehydrated spleen, and Tico loves it. So yeah. So like, even if it just says like dog, you can still use it for your cat. Cats kind of get left out a lot of times, and we can still use those companies that are advertising to dogs, because a lung is a lung, like whether you're giving it to a dog or a cat. But those are some companies you can try.
Here's another question from Paul Bear. Maybe this is the one that you were talking about. About raw diet with bones that may cause an obstruction. Is it better to feed raw without bones? And this is good for now that we know that there's also an IBD. This was IBD component. Is, do you find that using like eggshell calcium in replacement of bones is better for cats with IBD? Because we've heard that a lot.
Yeah. So here's the problem. So if you're using a pre-made like raw diet, typically they're going off an 80-10-10 ratio. Most cats don't do well with 10% bone. It's constipating. They actually do better, usually around 6% bone content in those diets. So that's something to be aware of. And also taking one step back, because I find a lot of people come to me and they're like, yeah, I'm feeding meat. And they're not putting like organs, they're not doing bones. And when we're talking about bones, we're talking about raw, meaty bones. Never feed a cooked bone to your animals. That's what causes the issues and causes the obstruction. So Paul Bear, you might be noticing if you are feeding some of these pre-made diets, sorry, I'm losing my voice, pre-made diets with, yeah, too much talking over the past 5 days. But if you're feeding pre-made diets, they're probably using a 10% ratio and it's constipating your cat. So this is where you can essentially get diets that are organ meats and they're blends of organ meats and meat, or you can make your own and you can use eggshell calcium, or you just lower the percentage if you are making your own diets. So eggshell calcium can be really good. Eggshell calcium is good for if they have kidney disease, because it's going to be lower in phosphorus. The one of the downsides with eggshell calcium is it doesn't have a lot of those great nutrients and vitamins of things like magnesium and others that can, increase the nutrient value of the food. So that is a downside with eggshell compared to using actual like raw meaty bone. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, but maybe less bone. If we're,
I know our Fetching Foods, for example, will make custom meals. So if you're dealing with something that is,
we switch them both out with us because we have one with elevated kidney levels and the eggshell calcium seems to work better with all of our past cats that had CKD. And so we switch it out. We do some with bone and some with eggshell calcium. For us.
The power. Maryland.
Another 500.
I saw the colors. Just
no.
Bada bing, bada bang.
Just kidding. Sissy's like, no.
Okay. All right.
That's Tina.
All right.
Thanks, Sissy.
I feel like we are lost in the comments. Here's that. Yeah, Laura Lee, the power of woo-woo. Laura Lee actually just had one of our first American. Our brains are mush.
Animal communication
sessions, experiences this past weekend with Animal Communication Collective at their fundraiser for Heidi's Village. Amazing. Randy said, any tips on introducing cats to a new baby? We have 8 cats and they are the babies for sure, but a new baby sister will be here super soon. Congratulations. I want them to know they are loved and safe with the baby.
Oh, yes.
I love it. The question is not that you're freaking out about having cats and a new baby. That's, that is
I was thinking like a new cat baby. I thought that's how I interpreted it. Now I'm like, human baby.
Yeah, we're talking human baby, right? I believe we're talking human baby.
Yeah.
So
no, I think you're 100% right.
The best thing that we need to do, as we know that our human baby is on the way, is to make sure that we don't exclude our cats from the process, right? So we see so many cats that end up doing like going outside the box, having behavioral issues, maybe even getting aggressive during the process where we're building a new nursery for the baby, but we're keeping the cat away from that. Or we move the litter boxes around to make room for the new baby. And this can really upset our cats. So we always want to bring our cats through the process with us. Let them mark the new with their faces, not spray it, but let them mark the new cradle or the new toys and things like that. Like let them mark their scents all over so that they can feel comfortable.
A part of it. I think, Dr. Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen so many videos about this, and there are actually articles about this as well. If Randy, if your little one is coming soon, all of your babies already know there's a little human in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. It's so neat watching animals, and especially cats. Like they like sit on your belly. I mean, I don't have a human baby, but just watching like the videos, and it's amazing. And when you think about all the hormones that you're producing, like the oxytocin and like the love hormones, right? The connection hormones, your cats are feeling that. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of pet parents get super terrified, like dogs and cats are going to be aggressive or like kill a baby. Or 9 times out of 10, they're like protecting them and they're like, it's ours. We're going to make sure it's good. And they become like best buddies, and it's like the best thing ever. So, I love both of your advice. Yeah, I agree 100%. And you just have to include them and continue to engage with your cat so they're not getting stressed that all of a sudden they're being ignored and like routines are changing. And
Oh, yes.
and
She's
I
the
think
best human baby ever.
Oh,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
oh, and 8 little kitties to take care of it. So
Yes, to help
to
you.
like
Yeah, I think
babies cry. Be adjustments. There's going to be changes with like your routines and like sleeping and things like that. So, I think having time to engage with the cats also, or things that you can do with them to make sure that they have a quiet place to go to. Get a ripple rug if I'm sure you already have one, Randy. You probably have like 5, but like those things are just really neat to be able to like give them some enrichment because your time's going to be taken up with like a new baby. That's really important. But
So true.
like cats, here's the nice thing, like look behind me, like look at what's happening here. Like they love hanging out with you too. And so, when you're enjoying like your new baby and you're with them and you're taking care of them, having the cats with you they love that. They love being a part of like the process and being with you. And that'll be a huge nice thing for them. So yeah,
I love it.
I think it'll be perfect. They will know they are loved and safe. And I think they already do.
yeah.
This is beautiful too. She said people keep saying I'm crazy because I set the nursery up and we'll sit in there and let my cats explore.
Oh, I love that. That's perfect.
You're way ahead of the game.
Randy, we all understand you. You are with the right people here.
Yeah.
So
Right things.
Justine said, do you recommend cat water fountains? I feel like my cat doesn't drink enough water. Any brand recommendations?
So cat fountains can be great. Biggest thing to keep in mind, they can form biofilms. So if you're not cleaning those fountains enough, this is a biofilm is like the bacteria, the slime that you feel if you like put your finger in a bowl, if like water's been standing, you haven't cleaned it out enough. Those biofilms are not good for our cat's health. So you just have to make sure you're cleaning them quite routinely, making sure you're using ones that tend to be like stainless steel. There's a lot of ones that are plastic out there. So it just depends. But typically like flowing water, a lot of cats respond really well to that, and it'll increase their drinking of like increase their water content with that.
Yeah. I also want to say when it comes to cleaning the water fountain, what's really important that most people miss is that you have to actually take apart the filter and clean that filter, not just the fountain itself.
Oh, 100%. Yep.
You have to take apart, or the pump, right?
The pump. Yeah. So like the little suction thing. And honestly too, if you do not clean it well enough, here's a test. When you plug it back in, you'll see that junk come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
Filters
gross.
you need to stay on top of those filters, and then you also need to make sure that you're cleaning that pump out. It is. I think that we probably had a water fountain for a few months before I realized that pump came apart.
Oh no!
It was disgusting. Disgusting.
Yeah.
Running water. First of all, Justine, I do want to say, if you feel like your cat isn't drinking enough water, my question would be, are you feeding them a moisture-rich diet? Because cats are made to get the majority of the moisture that they need from their food. So we don't see some of our cats ever drink water.
We actually got rid of our water fountain, or put it away because our cats were not drinking it. And it was just like, why are we washing this filter? This pump over and over when our cats are not drinking.
But some cats really love that running water. It's exciting and enticing for them. Okay.
Yeah. Also, too, with water, big thing, make sure you're filtering it. There's lots of chemicals in your drinking water. If you are in the States, just go to environmentalworkinggroup.org, EWG.org, and you can type in your zip code. And I mean, we have like 10 carcinogenic things in our water. And so we use a Berkey water filter, and there's lots of other water filters. They actually have a really great resource on their website about water filters. And looking at like reverse osmosis, there's great information on that website to take a look at. But I don't recommend tap water. And here's the thing, you have a cat with struvite crystal issue. Maybe you have a water issue.
Wow.
There's lots of minerals. Do you have hard water? Do you have soft water? That can play a huge part. And it might be why your pet's not getting better.
Wow.
That is a huge.
I
Okay,
didn't
say
think
that
about
website
that.
again.
So ewg.org, that will tell you, you can type in your zip code. So this is unfortunately only for people in the US, but you can type in your zip code. You'll see how many carcinogenic chemicals are in your drinking water. So what's coming out of your tap. It's not going to tell you whether you have hard water or soft water, but especially if your cats have struvite crystals, have a pH problem, this is really important to test. So I would be looking at testing your water to see, do we have too many minerals? And you could be doing everything right. And you're like, oh my God, I switched them to a raw food diet. I got them off prescription food. If your water is hard, you're stuck in the cycle because we haven't fixed the actual root issue.
Wow.
That is
I never
insight.
ever thought about that actually. That's amazing.
Wow. We are running out of time and we
yes,
are way
we
behind.
Oh, we are.
Holy
yes.
moly.
Okay, let's
Wait.
see. I think a lot of people are talking
Dana
to
said
each
we have
other.
arsenic in ours.
Oh wow, yeah. I wouldn't
Most people have arsenic. So most of us have heavy metals. Most cats have heavy metals. We do hair tissue mineral analysis tests, which are very helpful at identifying heavy metals. And so I recommend those. If you can do it at least once every year, if you can, it'll give you an idea of like, where is your cat's heavy metal status? So then you know, okay, I really need to focus on like chelation or binding them and getting them out of the body, because that could be inhibiting your cat healing. So I'm a big fan of doing some of those diagnostic tests to get a better idea, so you know what you're dealing with rather than guessing.
Yeah. Wow. I love that so much.
But yeah, heavy metals are everywhere. We can't escape them. But when we know where they're we know about them and we know where sources are, we can do better to help minimize them and support the body to get rid of them.
That is so helpful. How do you get the pump apart? So that's really I always use my trusty tweezers. That front pops off, the little fan in there pulls out. You can use a little wire brush to get in there and clean that whole thing out. Darby was talking about plastic is very porous, fills with bacteria, rinse and rinse and rinse. I really recommend, if you're going to be going that water fountain route, to go with something stainless steel, or porcelain, glass.
Ceramic.
Pet Safe is one we use.
Pet Safe is the one we use.
Yeah. That's enough.
But honestly, here's the other thing. If you're worried, so like you said, depends on the type of food we're feeding. So if we're feeding a moisture-rich diet, they're going to drink less. But if you're worried, just add a little bit of water to their diet. And a lot of cats will, they're going to get extra water that way just by eating their food.
Yep, absolutely.
Great.
All right. So I think
goodness.
that is going to, Darby said, let's answer Darby's last question real quick. If we use bottled water, is it best to use
water?
Okay. I have issues with bottled water. The reason why is because most of the time it's not coming from a spring. It's coming from a tap. The other reason why is it's sitting in a plastic water bottle. We have a major plastic issue in this world. And so Darby, honestly, we've been using a Berkey water filter, and it literally just sits on our counter, and we just fill it up, and you change out like charcoal filters, and there's filters for there's, I think, 4 different types of filters you can use to filter out different things. And honestly, been super happy with it. You can always test the water too. So we've never done that. It's on the list. We've just never gotten there, where you could test it and see like what chemicals are coming out of the filtered Berkey water. But I honestly, bottled water, we have some bottled water in our basement, and it's just for like emergency supplies if we needed it. And honestly, if we never used it, I probably would never drink it, just because it's been sitting there, connected to the plastic and the chemicals that are exuding from the plastic. So I'm not a huge fan of bottled water, unfortunately.
We actually had a guy come and do testing on our water years and years ago, and he here in Vegas, and he came over and he tested our tap water. When you have the little thing where it's blue is great, and then red is horrible. and he tested the tap water, and it was like horrible. And then he was like, so you guys normally drink what this
water.
like
We had
bottled
two
water?
different kinds of
We had,
bottled
I think
water.
we had Aquafina and what's that?
Spring Mountain or something?
No, it's like one of the most. It tastes like dirt water now.
Because it's from the tap.
Dirty water. But he tested both of those, and they were also in the orange. And it was like, this is the bottled water that we're buying to drink.
Yeah, it's a huge, there's like a huge marketing scam with, like, we did a talk, or I did a coffee talk on water. It's been a long time now, but it like researching that, I was like, oh my goodness, like this is insane. It's like marketing, and most people just have no idea, and you're spending so much money on it.
It's kind of brilliant, though, isn't
Yeah,
it?
It is. Well, they're smart. Like most
who
marketing is smart, right? If they're doing really well. So doesn't mean it's best.
Who thought of selling water?
I mean, we grew up where
Like,
a
brilliant.
bottle of water was not a thing. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
and not all water is created equal. I think it's a huge thing when you think about how much water's good. You need more, drink more water. Make sure your cots are hydrated. Water. And there you can really go down a rabbit hole when it comes to water
And how
types
safe
of water
is.
Filter
Yeah.
system, all of
Yes.
that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we are out of time. But Dr. Katie Woodley, you are always just a wealth of beautiful, empowering knowledge. I am so grateful for you and your brain. I want you to share a little bit. I love, it's not a project, or maybe it is a passion project. You are, I don't know how to say it. You have a program basically that really gives people access to your insights on a regular basis. You have a community. Can you tell people a little bit about this program and how to see if they might be a good fit? I want to let everyone know right now that link for that program to see if you are a good fit for a lifetime membership with Dr. Katie. That link is in the description
here.
But for everyone here that is grateful like us for your insights, tell us a little bit about that program.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And so we created this program last year when we realized that there's just a huge major shortage of holistic veteran. I mean, we knew this, but now it's even worse. And so many pet parents and so many people here tonight might be feeling this way, where you're going down the rabbit hole. There's a problem. You need a solution. You need help and guidance. And you're finding all this information and you don't know how to implement and take action and get results without worrying about whether or not it's going to harm your cats. And so what we did is we created a healthy holistic program, like a blueprint, which essentially takes you step by step through all those different pillars, all these areas of health we were touching on tonight, and allows you to be able to know what to implement, when to implement, and how to do it with my guidance. And so that way you're not afraid to take the next step to get the results that you're looking for. And so we do weekly Q&As. So that way you can ask me specific questions and we can go deep and figure out, where is your pet having a block? What do you need to ask for from the vet? Coaching you on how to talk to the vet if you have vets that may not be open to this. And so just essentially giving pet parents guidance throughout the life of their pet, alongside a really supportive community that's very welcoming and open. We celebrate wins. It's a great place. Like if you need to come and you literally need to have a cry, because sometimes we need to have a cry, right? That's important. It's a very safe community. I call it our family. And the neat thing about it is it's a lifetime program. Once you're in forever. So if you're like, I just want to make sure I never make the same mistakes I made in the past, I want to make sure I have the guidance, I have the support, I have the tools, this program is what that does for you. And so what we're doing is we actually jump on a call. So we do an interview with every single pet parent to make sure it's a good fit for you and for what we're offering. So the link in the lady's bio is the link to schedule a call to learn more. And if you're not sure what it is, we do have a free webinar that goes a little bit more in depth into some of these areas and talks a little bit more about the program. So just send me a message and I can always share that link with you too. So you could go to the naturalpetdoctor.com. You can send a message through our contact us or our social media, the Natural Pet Doctor, and just send a DM, and more than happy to send over that link too. But we're seeing amazing results. People are feeling like confident. They're feeling supported, and able to really take the next steps in a holistic lifestyle to give you the transformation you want for your cats and your dogs throughout any life stage.
Yeah. And just to answer a couple of the questions, not just for one pet, for all of your pets and for the lifetime of you.
Yeah. So
the lifetime of you with your pets. So like literally in Vancouver, Canada, if you are in Ireland, if you are wherever you are, you need access to a holistic, this beautiful, wonderful, holistic veterinarian, integrative veterinarian that can give you advice on what you need to do, where you need to go, and a full blueprint of courses that you can take on that you can refer back to and learn all the things that you need to know on how to help your dog or cat live the longest, healthiest, and happiest life possible. She's got all the information there. It's all there.
I just really think, I mean, what you do to help empower pet parents is just incredible. Before we jumped on the live tonight, we were all talking about Dr. Judy Morgan's rant earlier today. It means the world to me when veterinarians take time out of their busy life to really empower pet parents. You know, we were talking about the shortage in veterinarians, certainly the shortage in integrative veterinarians, and just that ability to communicate and feel like we're getting all of our questions answered and we're making the right decisions. And I just so grateful for you and this brain trust that you are building to help pet parents and build a community around proactive pet parents. It's just a beautiful thing. So thank you so much, Dr. Katie.
Yeah, no, honestly, I always say this and I truly mean it. I mean, my soul gets lit on fire because I've been there. I've been across from the doctor hearing there's nothing more you can do. I've been there with my Finn, but I was ready at that time. And I was able to give him extra amazing quality of life because I was grateful for when, you know, this sounds so weird. My husband got sick and developed an autoimmune disease, but I'm so grateful life gave that to us because it led me down this path so I could help my pets. And now I have the gift and the blessing of being able to help empower other people to know that there's better ways that we can do it. And so I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful for every single one of the amazing cat parents that showed up tonight that are taking time out of their day. I see so many I recognize so many names. Like I love every single one of you. It just literally, it lights my soul on fire. And I get goosebumps because we are part of a movement. We are creating change. Sometimes it feels a bit slow, but I always say this, start with one thing and it will add up to a huge difference for your pets. And if it's something where you need extra help and guidance, I'm here for you. Schedule a call, learn more. And you know, let's get into it. Let's help your pets get to 20, 30 years old and any future pets, right? Because we're all probably going to have other pets that come into our life at some point. So
I don't think any of us are going to stop soon.
No. They find us. They find all of us, right? Who else agrees? They find us because they know that we care. We want to give them the best lives. And, you know, we're blessed to have them. So every single one of the ones behind me, I was not expecting. So
none of our
and they turn out to be our best teachers.
Yes.
They are. Exactly. So, but yeah, thank you so much, Adrian and Jay, for what you do. And thank you to everyone for being here and just continuing to learn and grow. And remember, take that action because that's what's going to get you the results.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We will see you again with Wine with Dr. Woodley next month, and we will have wine.
Yes, we will.
Yes, everyone will be healthy again.
Yes. And again, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., we are going to be live with Paul Dega talking all things how to transition your cat to a raw food diet at 2 o'clock Pacific time. We will be live for Think About It Thursday talking about grooming versus bathing. And then at 2:30, we will be live for our Back in the Closet podcast, talking to Sally Williams about Mission Meow.
Mission Meow. Oh, so many exciting things coming up.
Yes. So we need to get to sleep. We love you guys.
Dr. Katie, we love you so much. Thank you.
Love you all. Thank you.
We love you guys. Some extra boops tonight from us. Mwah.
Good night, guys.
Good night, y'all.